was one of those golden autumn afternoons that made Maple Creek look almost unreal. The kind of small Oregon town where people still left their doors unlocked and everyone knew everyone else's business. 13-year-old Samantha Price walked out of Maple Creek Middle School at exactly 3:07 p.m. Clutching her math notebook and humming her favorite pop song under her breath. Her friends waved goodbye, heading toward their own neighborhoods, while Samantha began her usual 10-minute walk home. The route was familiar, past the playground where she used to swing as a kid, across the old wooden bridge that creaked with every step, then down Willow Lane toward her family's yellow house at the end of the street. But sometime along that short stretch, Samantha vanished. When her mother, Linda Price, realized her daughter hadn't arrived home by 3:45, she assumed Samantha might have stopped at the small corner store for candy, something she often did. But when an hour passed with no word, Linda began to worry. She called Samantha's friends, who all said the same thing. Wow, saw her leave school. Mrs. Price. She was alone. That night, as the sun sank behind the trees, Linda drove the route herself, headlights slicing through the growing fog, calling her daughter's name out the car window. By 8:00 p.m., panic had settled into every corner of the Price household. Linda called the police. Within the hour, Maple Creek officers were knocking on doors, shining flashlights through wooded trails, and setting up checkpoints at every road leading out of town. But nothing turned up. No backpack, no shoe prints, no sign of a struggle. Samantha's phone was off, her social media silent. It was as though the girl had been erased between the playground and the bridge, a route hundreds of kids took every single day. One witness, an elderly man walking his dog near the riverbank, claimed he'd heard a girl's laughter echoing from the trees around 3:30. He thought nothing of it at the time, until later that night when he saw the same stretch of woods crawling with police lights. What haunted everyone most was the eerie calm that hung over Maple Creek the following morning, as if the town itself knew something terrible had happened, but wasn't ready to speak about it. 3 long, sleepless days had passed since Samantha's disappearance, and the investigation had started to lose direction. Volunteers had come through the forest, search dogs had covered every square inch of Maple Creek, and still nothing. Then, on the 4th morning, a sudden break came through. Samantha's phone had pinged from a cell tower 15 miles north of town. The signal was faint and short-lived, but it gave detectives a glimmer of hope. When they tracked it down, the GPS led them to an abandoned barn off Highway 16, a place long forgotten, hidden behind overgrown weeds and rusted metal fencing. The moment the officers stepped inside, the air turned cold, thick with dust and decay. There were broken tools scattered across the dirt floor, and old hay that smelled of rot. In one dark corner, Detective Harris found the phone. Screen cracked, battery dead, face down in the dirt. But that wasn't what chilled him most. Near the barn entrance, he noticed muddy dog paw prints, fresh and deep, circling the area. At first, the team assumed the prints belonged to a stray, but locals insisted that no one in the area owned a dog, not for years. Stranger still, the tracks didn't lead anywhere. They began near the entrance of the barn and ended right there, as if the animal had appeared and vanished in the same spot. When the forensics team examined the inside walls, they discovered something even more unsettling. 3 words carved into the wood, jagged and uneven, as if scratched in a hurry by shaking hands. ELPHER nummo. The letters were faint, but beneath the layers of grime, traces of what looked like dried blood glistened under the flashlight beam. No one could say for sure if Samantha had written it, but the size of the handwriting suggested it came from someone small, possibly a child. The message seemed less like a clue and more like a warning. The police sealed off the area immediately, treating the barn as a crime scene. Every inch of the place was photographed, sampled, and cataloged. But as the night grew colder, even the officers admitted there was something off about that barn, something they couldn't quite name. The air inside felt electric, like static before a storm, and a faint, rhythmic sound echoed through the rafters, almost like panting. Yet, when they checked, there was nothing there. Back at headquarters, Detective Harris replayed everything in his mind. The strange paw prints, the cryptic message, the eerie silence of the woods. It all pointed to one haunting possibility, that Samantha hadn't been alone when she disappeared. Something or someone had been with her, and it had followed her into the dark. The search had gone quiet after the discovery at the barn. Days turned into weeks, and though Maple Creek tried to return to normal life, the shadow of Samantha's disappearance hung over the town like fog. Then, one chilly Sunday evening, a 911 call came in from a man named Tom Willis, who lived on the outskirts of town near the dense cedar grove forest. His voice trembled as he spoke to the dispatcher. He wasn't calling about a person, but about his dog. Tom's golden retriever, Buddy, had been acting strangely for days. Every night, just after sunset, Buddy would run toward the woods behind their property, barking wildly, refusing to come back no matter how many times Tom called his name. The dog would disappear for hours, only to return exhausted, paws muddy, formatted with twigs and leaves. It wasn't like Buddy to behave this way. The last time he'd done something similar was when he'd found a neighbor's missing cat months earlier, buried under a collapsed shed. Tom couldn't shake the feeling that Buddy was trying to tell him something. On the night of the call, Buddy came back to the porch, carrying something in his mouth. A torn piece of blue fabric, soaked in dirt and streaked with something that looked too dark to be mud. Tom's heart sank when he realized it matched the color of Samantha's school uniform, the same blue every student at Maple Creek Middle wore. He immediately contacted the police, and within an hour, patrol cars lined his property, lights flashing through the trees. Detectives let Buddy loose, hoping he'd lead them somewhere. The retriever didn't hesitate. He took off into the forest, tail low, sniffing the ground, moving with purpose. The deeper they followed, the colder the air became. The woods were eerily silent. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of leaves beneath their boots and the soft jingle of Buddy's collar echoing ahead. After nearly 30 minutes of navigating through the twisting paths, Buddy stopped near a collapsed storm drain beside a dried-up creek bed. He started digging furiously, whining, growling, and pawing at the ground as if desperate to reach something below. When the officers shone their flashlights toward the drain, their beams caught the glint of metal, and then something pale, something unmistakably human. The lead detective ordered everyone to freeze. The ground was uneven and slick with moisture, but they could see a shape beneath the debris. A body, partially covered in branches and soil. Buddy let out a low, mournful sound and sat beside it, tail still, eyes fixed on the darkness below. It was the break they had been waiting for, but no one was prepared for what they were about to find. The forest that had swallowed Samantha now seemed ready to give up its secrets, one grim clue at a time. As officers cordoned off the area, the heavy silence of the forest was broken only by the rustle of leaves and the hum of police radios. Detective Harris crouched near the storm drain, his flashlight trembling slightly in his hand. What they uncovered beneath the fallen branches wasn't Samantha. It was the body of a man, face down, his skin pale and his hands frozen around a rusted knife. The stench of decay hung in the damp air. The man's clothes were tattered, his boots caked with mud, and his arms bore deep, uneven claw marks, as though he'd been attacked by an animal. But what sent a chill through the officers' spines was what they found in his pocket. A worn, dirt-stained school ID with Samantha Price's smiling face staring back at them. The detective's breath caught in his throat. Whoever this man was, he had been connected to Samantha and possibly her abduction. But if he was dead now, what had killed him? Forensics worked through the night, documenting every detail of the scene. Under the ultraviolet light, they found more evidence. Strands of blonde hair caught in the man's jacket and fibers from a school backpack lodged near his belt. But the strangest detail came from the medical examiner's early observation. Embedded in the folds of the man's jacket were dog hairs, dozens of them. Detective Harris frowned. He'd seen dog prints before, at the barn. Could this be the same animal? The lab later confirmed the hair matched that of Buddy, Tom Willis's golden retriever. But that was impossible. Tom insisted his dog had never left their yard except during those few nights when he ran into the forest. The timeline didn't make sense. Somehow, Buddy's DNA was tied to both the barn and this body, even though the two locations were miles apart. It felt as if the dog had been following the trail long before anyone realized it existed. As dawn crept over the treetops, officers expanded their search radius. Only a few feet from where the body had been found, a deputy's flashlight beam caught the edge of something buried beneath a mound of leaves. When they brushed the debris away, they discovered a small underground crawl space, almost like a makeshift shelter. Inside was a dirt-stained backpack, a cracked flashlight, and a folded piece of lined paper. The drawing on it was crude but chilling, a sketch of a large dog with glowing eyes, standing protectively beside a small girl. Detective Harris studied the picture for a long time, his mind racing. It wasn't just a doodle, it looked like a message, something Samantha might have drawn. The question was when, before she vanished or after. And if the dog in the drawing was meant to be Buddy, then maybe he hadn't just been following the trail. Maybe he had been part of it all along. A week after the grisly discovery in the forest, the town of Maple Creek was still gripped by unease. Police continued to search for answers, but then, one cold morning, a local farmer spotted something moving along the tree line near his property. A barefoot girl, covered in dirt, shivering and dazed. It was Samantha Price. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, and though she was physically unharmed, she barely spoke. Her eyes were vacant, her expression blank, as if part of her had been left behind in those woods. When detectives gently asked where she had been, Samantha simply whispered, "He tried to hurt me, but the big dog wouldn't let him." Every nurse in the room fell silent. When they showed her a photo of Buddy, her lips trembled into a faint smile. "That's him," she said softly. "He kept me warm." But there was one chilling problem, according to Tom Willis. Buddy had been home the entire time. Investigators were baffled. GPS data from Buddy's collar proved he had never strayed more than half a mile from the Willis property. Yet forensic evidence told a completely different story. His hair was found both at the barn and on the dead man's clothes. It was as if two versions of the same dog existed, one that slept by the fireplace every night, and another that prowled through the woods protecting a lost child. Detective Harris couldn't explain it, but something in his gut told him the truth. It wasn't meant to be logical. When Samantha finally regained enough strength to talk, she said she remembered the man with the knife chasing her through the trees. She fell, hurt her leg, and then saw a flash of movement. Oh, a huge dog with shining eyes lunging at the man before everything went dark. When she woke up, the man was gone, and the dog was sitting beside her, silent and watchful. For 3 weeks, it had brought her food scraps, led her to water, and kept her hidden whenever search parties came close. She never saw it eat, never saw it sleep. It was just there. When Detective Harris visited her room the next day, he showed Samantha a photo of the crude drawing found in the underground shelter. Her eyes widened. "That's the cave," she whispered. "That's where he couldn't find me." Harris asked who drew the picture, and Samantha looked away, hesitating. "I didn't draw it," she said finally. "He did." When Harris pressed her to explain, she added, "The dog. He made me find it. He showed me where to hide." The room went silent. No one knew how to respond. Outside, a storm rolled in, thunder echoing through the valley. That same night, Tom Willis woke to the sound of Buddy whining at the back door. The dog stood staring into the woods, tail still, ears raised, as lightning flashed across the sky. And for just a moment, Tom swore he saw another shape standing out there. Larger, darker, its eyes glowing faintly in the rain, waiting. In the weeks that followed, Maple Creek tried to return to its quiet rhythm, but nothing truly felt the same. Samantha slowly began to recover, though she never spoke again about the man, the woods, or the glowing-eyed dog. Her therapist called it trauma. Her mother called it a miracle. The police eventually closed the case, ruling the man in the forest as her kidnapper. But Detective Harris couldn't stop thinking about the details that didn't fit. The paw prints that appeared and vanished, the dog hairs in impossible places, and Samantha's final words before she stopped talking entirely. "He's still out there, watching." Tom Willis swore Buddy had changed after that night. The friendly golden retriever who once wagged his tail at everyone now spent his evenings sitting by the edge of the woods, staring into the trees, unmoving, as if waiting for something or someone to return. Sometimes when the moon was full, Tom would hear 2 sets of footsteps echoing across the forest floor, one belonging to Buddy, and one heavier, slower, dragging behind him. He never went out to check, and so Maple Creek remains quiet. But every October, as the fog rolls in, people say they still hear a low growl coming from the forest, followed by the soft cry of a girl calling for help. Some claim it's the spirit of that night, the bond between a frightened child and something far older, something that still walks the woods. Whether it was a guardian or a ghost, no one can say. But one thing is certain in Maple Creek: no one walks home alone after dark anymore.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.